Hey there friends, Paul Brown here with Wasson Watch Company. What you see in front of you is a couple different watches. And what I want to point out right now here is these spring bars right here. The spring bars are the parts that go between the lugs to help attach the bracelet to the watch or the nylon strap if you're using a nylon strap, which we have an example here. So if you haven't heard already, we had a little oversight with our watches, and unfortunately the spring bar holes in the lugs are just a hair closer. So the holes that the spring bars would go into are a hair closer to the watch case than in our previous production run. And what that means is, on the newer models, initially with the spring bars they came with, we were unable to affix the nylon strap to them. There wasn't enough space. And I found this after shipping out the first couple watches that came through, getting feedback from folks. So I quickly took a look, saw that this was an issue, brainstormed a couple ideas of what to do. And after frankly praying about it, because it was this is definitely a big issue if you can't fit the nylon strap on there. It occurred to me that there is a kind of spring bar called a shouldered spring bar, which is curved like this. It curves outward so that you can fit something that wouldn't necessarily otherwise fit. And you see those affixed to this one right now. It's kind of hard to tell. The purpose of this video is not just to tell you about this fix, but also to show you what to do when you receive your Wasson Automatic Field Watch. So your field watch is going to come with this stainless steel bracelet on it. If you decide you want to put a nylon strap on there, these are the steps you're going to need to go through in order to do that. So with the bracelet on, it comes with, like I said, these original spring bars. You'll notice they're straight. They're 2 millimeters thick. We upgraded to a thicker spring bar to increase the strength of the spring bar and decrease the likelihood of failure at that point. Honestly, we haven't had any customers complain of that. It's never happened as far as we know with our watches, but we're always seeking to improve. It's also going to come with 2 of these shouldered spring bars, which you can see are curved. And so every Wasson Automatic Field Watch also comes with a spring bar removal tool, just like this. And it's got 2 ends, and you can unscrew both ends. And one end has a pronged side, you can see, just like that. And this is what you're going to use to remove the spring bars on your bracelet so that you can put the new spring bars on there. So let's make sure we have a little space there. It can take a little bit of finesse to do this right, but right there, you might be able to see, kind of hard to see with the camera there, you can see an opening. This is the opening for where you can see the spring bar there and there. And there's, when you inspect this on your watch, you're going to notice there's some little they're ridges, they're like flanges or shoulders on the spring bars that you can use the prong of your spring bar removal tool or prongs to remove them. So essentially what we do is try not to scratch the watch itself, but you put the spring bar removal tool prongs there against the spring bar and you press inward. So it's called a spring bar because it's a bar with springs in it, and you're depressing that spring at the same time you're pulling out with the bracelet away from the watch head. And when you pull out, once you get it to depress, it's going to come out of that lug hole, and then you can do the same thing on the other side. It can be helpful to have a little more space to work with by opening up the clasp. And so now I'm going to go to the other side here and depress that side while pulling out. And if it takes a few tries, don't get discouraged. I have probably more practice with these than the average person, so it might take you a little bit longer. But you can see here the spring bar, it'll just come right out. And while you're doing this, you really want to kind of guard the spring bar with your fingers. As it comes up, it can shoot out if you don't hold it the right way. But you get that side out, then you turn it around, and it's going to be a little bit easier when you have that bracelet out of the way. Now we can operate freely here. Same thing, we just depress this side and this side. Again, you see how my fingers right here, they were right there ready for it when it pulls out, so that the spring bar doesn't shoot away because it's being pushed up against one lug and it gets free of the other. Okay, so we set those in a safe place. You know, you have a leather tool roll that will come with your watch. That's a safe place to keep these spring bars and to keep your bracelet when you put the nylon strap on there. But make sure you do not lose those spring bars. You're going to need those even if you plan on exclusively using the nylon strap. In the future, you may want to put the bracelet on. You know, if you pass this down as an heirloom or ever give it away as a gift or sell it or something, people are going to want that bracelet that it comes with. So now putting on the shouldered spring bars is fairly simple. So again, there's two lug holes, which you can sort of maybe see there and there. I'm going to take the small end of the spring bar. You can just put it in on one side, just like this. I apologize if you can't see very well what I'm doing there, so you see it on one side. And then you're going to use your prongs. You technically don't even need the prongs to do this. You can use your fingernail or something, but it's a little easier to use the prongs to push against the, I've got it resting against the lug, and I gently push in because I don't want to scratch that lug until it's between the lugs now, and I'm just going to maneuver the spring bar into the other spring bar hole. And once it gets there, the spring will push it open into place so it's taut, it's firm against both sides. Then I just turn this around. I do the same on the other side. Goes into place fairly easily. And now you can see a little bit that curve in the spring bars that will facilitate this strap going on there. So whenever we're putting the strap on, you want to orient it like this. So the short end is going to be above the 12 and the long end is going to be below the 6. And so you thread this end through the bars here, through the first bar, and you pull the watch almost but not quite up against these rings. So you don't want it touching the rings, you want it in the middle of this space here. You see these rings here and those rings there. And you're going to thread this end through here. You see it fits quite easily with those new curved spring bars. And then you thread this end through these rings, and now your watch is securely affixed to your Zulu nylon strap. And the purpose of the nylon strap, the Zulu nylon strap, is because it's attached to this portion, and you've essentially got, you know, this will stay on. If something were to happen to one of your spring bars, one of those were to fail, it would still be attached to the other one. And so you have an added layer of security there. I'll go ahead and show you the reverse process. So you just take this out, you unthread this from both ends. Removing the spring bars without the bracelet on there is way easier. So you just depress one end there, get it out. Again, you want to secure the spring bar with your fingers while doing it, so I sort of hold it there, as you can see. Get that there, set those aside. Again, we save those. We put them in a place where we can find them again. All right, so unlike with the nylon strap, with the bracelet, we are not putting it on there. We're not putting the spring bars on first. We have to put the spring bars on with the bracelet. So first things first, which way does the bracelet go? I showed you how the strap goes with the short end on top and the long end on bottom. The bracelet, it's pretty easy. You line it up beneath the watch so that if the watch is oriented with the 12 up and the 6 down, the Wasson logo, the name and the logo are oriented upwards if this is on the bottom there. All right, and so now I know it's oriented the right way. I flip them both over just like so, and I take one of my 2mm spring bars, I insert it into the end piece on the bracelet. I hold it in place. I have a little bit of tape here to protect the watch. When you're moving these, removing them, so on, you won't have that because you'll take all that stuff off, but I'm protecting this one as it's new. So you carefully put the end piece between the lugs, and you want to just be careful here so you're not scratching the lugs. And you apply gentle pressure downward, so now the spring bar is being held in place by the pressure, but I have to put it between the lugs. And you can start on either side, get one side sort of in, you have downward pressure, all right, to keep that in, and then I push the other one in, and when it's between the lugs, it's not affixed yet. I need to kind of move it around a little bit to get that the spring bars to click. When they do, it's secure, all right? Then I take the other spring bar, I turn the watch around so it's easier for me to do on this side. I put the other spring bar in here. I do the exact same thing. It's a little bit more difficult now because I have the bracelet in the way, but really not that much. It's easier to put these on. It's easier to put the bracelets on than it is to take them off. So do both sides, get it in place, click, click. That's back on there. So that is how you remove and replace your bracelet. That's how you remove and replace your nylon strap. Now you know about your straight spring bars and your curved spring bars. And of course, if you ever have any questions at all, just reach out to us at info@wassonwatch.com. We're here to take your questions and help however we can. Thanks.